All right, my friends, welcome back. It's John, and welcome to All Cars, where we talk about all cars all the time. This is an opinion channel, and today is a special one. It is another MotorWeek Retro review. This week, my reaction to the 1986 Dodge Plymouth Colt Vista 4x4. Now, this was actually recommended to me by a viewer to ask me to do it, and I was, yeah, well, this is not a very interesting car. How exciting would this be? But then I recognized a couple of things that made this a little more interesting to me. Hopefully it is to you as well. The first is, you know, Click and Clack, the Tappet brothers, right? The NPR show Car Talk. Well, many years ago, they on their website had a what is your car finder, right? Go through and answer some questions about what was important to you, and they would recommend a car. And once I saw this vehicle again, it dawned on me, I used to take those, and it kept recommending the Colt Vista to me. All right, so that tells you something about what a 20-something-ish, or if that, year-old John. I was never the cool guy, okay? And let's face it, somewhere around 93, as I've mentioned, I bought a Volkswagen Fox station wagon. So, you know, they absolutely nailed it. I never ended up owning one, but once I remembered that, I was like, oh, I gotta see what an 86 was like. This is gonna be so exciting. The other thing is this is a Mitsubishi, obviously imported as a Dodge, a Plymouth, a Colt. The small car. The Vista is this more station wagon-y thing, sold in other markets as, like Canada, as an Eagle, their sub-brand. And it's somewhere between a station wagon and a small van. It's technically an MPV, multi-purpose vehicle, but it has 4x4. And I'm just here to tell you, now the early versions, I believe, were ladder frame, body on top, body on frame, and later the versions we didn't get here in the United States, I believe those were unibody. But I'm going to tell you what, this is 1986. You don't have to look at this vehicle too hard, squint and tilt your head a little bit, and you're kind of looking at the forerunner of the small SUV craze. Now, I'm serious, guys. You know, think about the RAV4 came here to America in 96, the CRV in 97. I know I get a lot of comments of people who think the Dodge Caliber was the forerunner of the small SUV craze. Well, it was 10 years behind the times. But you look at this, 10 years beforehand, and it's low to the ground like a car, but you stretch everything up a little bit, and you could be talking about one of the granddaddies of what became the car-based sport utilities of later years. Hey, you know what? If you don't agree with me, that's great. Let me know in the comments below. But on your way there, be sure to like this video. Please be sure to subscribe and click that little bell next to it to get notifications of any of my new content. I'll be able to speak today. Oh, and if you have been here before, do you like the scruffy look today? I'll probably get rid of it. It's driving me nuts. I think my experiment with growing a beard is done. So let's jump into it, guys.
Rack.com and State Farm.
Now, when the Vista first hit Chrysler, Plymouth, and Dodge showrooms of 2.5...
I'm sorry. Look at these tiny wheels in this thing. I mean, it looks for all the world like a miniature caravan on like little Mattel wheels.
Half years ago, it was seen as carving out its own little niche in the minivan market. It was small, but not...
Niche. Is it niche or niche? I've been saying niche forever, but this gentleman right here just said niche. Niche.
Too small and definitely thrifty. The Vista was and still is considered an economy car alternative to the larger minivans like the Caravan and the Voyager. And now it's got something else going for it too, four-wheel drive.
And does that mean it should go anywhere? Well, not really. They're not trying to make the Vista a stump climber, just trying to make it more versatile. And with or without four-wheel drive, the Colt Vista's design has a lot of versatility. It has 5 doors on the outside, like most station wagons. Inside, there's room for 7, with 2 + 3 + 2 seats.
Oh, was that necessary? Come on, PDA, guys.
Like most vans, although accommodations for the rearmost passengers are tight if you're of adult size. You can fold the seat backs down for hauling cargo.
Oh, look, this thing had 3 rows of seats. That's pretty cool. I didn't realize that. That's really cool.
Or fold all the rear seat cushions flat and turn the Colt Vista into a sort of mini camper. For the
How many teenagers, okay, let's be honest with you, and I want to hear from you. If you're watching this, leave me a comment below. How many teenagers were told by their parents, okay, well, you can go out with the girl or the guy, but you've got to take the Vista wagon, all right? You know, you're not taking my Mustang. You're going to take the Vista. Like, okay, Dad. And then turns out you got a whole bed behind the seat.
driver, a van-like seating position is great for visibility, but the seats are short on lower back and side support. Controls are straightforward, and there are lots of storage.
That thing has 2 glove compartments. That's pretty cool. And I don't, never been a big fan of Mitsubishi's. Their styling's always been a little off to me, but this instrument bin right there looks a little, I don't know, almost too vertical, but also it tilts towards you. That's kind of weird, but it's cool that it's got a manual in this little wagon. And get these, remember how they started to try to figure out where to put cup holders, and it got a couple up here on the dash. Who's really going to put their steaming cup of coffee up?
Nooks everywhere, but the radio is mounted a bit too low on the console for our liking. Instrumentation includes an indicator to tell you when you're in 4-wheel drive. Speaking of which, the Colt Vista's part-time 4-wheel drive system is similar to a Subaru's, which means it shouldn't be used on dry pavement. It's engaged by pushing a single switch that's recessed into the shift knob, and you can do it even when moving at normal highway speed.
Okay, and I'll go ahead and admit something right here. I did not realize that Subaru's all-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, was not all the time back in the 80s. I had a buddy that had a Subaru. I had a chance several times to drive it, and I seem to remember it was on all the time. It was an all-wheel drive system like we would recognize now. I didn't realize this. So part-time, but I'm assuming no low gearing here.
In 4-wheel drive, the engine's power is split 50-50 between the front and rear wheels. Combine that with 8.3 inches of ground clearance, and the Colt Vista will get you through almost any kind of bad weather, which is what the Vista was really designed for. If you do a lot of driving on dirt roads, we'd recommend the optional limited slip differential. For $158, you can save yourself from being towed out of really nasty situations, even if you get 2 or more wheels stuck. But with cars, as in life, you don't get anything for free. So you do get 4-wheel drive traction, but you pay for it with less adequate handling. This 4x4's higher center of gravity means more body roll and less cornering power, and that isn't exactly a strong suit even on the 2-wheel drive Vistas. At higher speeds, handling is controllable, but there's now more plow followed by some tail swing.
GTI, this thing is not.
In straight lines, the extra 300 pounds of the 4x4 also takes its toll, since the 4-wheel drive model has the same 88 horsepower engine as the standard front-drive Colt Vista. 0 to 60 takes an eternal 19.1 seconds. That puts the Colt Vista 4x4 in the same category as some diesels we've tested. 40 to
That is amazingly slow, and I'm working from memory here. I think that was slower than the Chevette, and it was woefully slow. Or even the EconoBox Comparo that I did a reaction on. That is really, really slow. I mean, forget putting your coffee on the dashboard. You could make it in the amount of time it takes for you to merge onto the highway.
55, passing time, however, was more acceptable at 5.9 seconds. But the Colt Vista does stop quite well, straight too, thanks to a brake proportioning system that compensates for the vehicle's load. Distances were fairly good. 132 feet was our average after 6 tries from 55. The 5-speed 4x4 Colt Vista is EPA rated at 19 miles per gallon city and 24
I apologize, guys. Apparently my internet just hiccuped.
highway. We got 24 on our 100-mile mixed driving loop. Not bad for a 7-passenger vehicle with 4-wheel drive capability. And there were lots of things we really liked about the Colt Vista. Its utility, inventive seating, the overall use of space, and the extra confidence that 4-wheel drive gives you in bad weather.
What weird proportions on this car. It's like the nose is short but manages to look a little long too. I think it's the distance from the bumper back to the wheels here. You know, his feet must be right on top of the wheel well. And then it's like the belt line and the roof diverge, so it gets taller as it goes back is what it looks like. The rear end, you notice on the braking, the rear end looks like it's really high too, probably adjusted so you can load it and it settles back down into something a little more neutral, but just a oddly proportioned vehicle.
But we weren't very impressed by the handling or acceleration. It's probably adequate for most owners, but we wonder if Mitsubishi, who makes the Vista, hasn't asked too much of the vehicle's basic design. Still, it's hard to hold track performance against the Vista, especially since it easily meets its good traction and all-weather mission, and with a base price of just under 10 grand. Now, there are a lot of folks out there who want a car-like environment, comfortable seating for a family of 7, and 4-wheel drive all in one package.
Okay, and that's what I'm talking about. Why are people moving towards the car-based sport utilities, whether they're small like the RAV4 or whether they're larger like the Pilot or something like that? Because they want a more car-like ride, the security of all-wheel drive, and the ability to squeeze people in. That's what this car is offering. So I'm not arguing it looks like the modern interpretation of the small SUV, but I'm telling you guys, Mitsubishi was at least 10 years ahead of the curve here. They didn't develop it in this way. What I've seen of the later versions went more and more, you know, MPV, more van-like, right? Small van, not moving into the SUV side, but I'm telling you, this is a spiritual successor to the SUV craze.
No U.S.-made van or station wagon can match it, and its nearest Oriental rival lacks its versatile seating. So the Dodge Plymouth Colt Vista 4x4 has this market of maximum versatility all to its own.
That was a short one, guys, and I'd like to say it's interesting they didn't say anything about safety. I think normally in these they say something about you know, how it tested, and they didn't say anything there. So that was pretty interesting, a little underwhelming, and I wonder who would buy that. I have trouble seeing a market beyond, you know, maybe more the northeast of the United States where it snows a lot and you want that ability. Same reason Subaru is popular. You know, mountains where you want that security of all-wheel drive and the ability to get through some of the thicker stuff that maybe just front-wheel drive wouldn't do for you. But for the rest of the United States, what's the point? You know, now if it's an all-wheel drive system that's on all the time, like the modern systems, that's a little bit different. You know, that really comes in handy on really big downpours, for example. But I really struggle to see the point of this. I think it's a super cool vehicle. I like, you know, flippy foldy seats and this weird proportion, and nobody would ever have one of these. And dang, that would be super cool to see today. But I just struggle with who would buy it and why, and I'm going to go look and see if I can find how this thing actually sold, because I can't imagine that they sold very many of them. So I hope you like this, guys. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, let me know, because I do take them into account. So other than that, I appreciate you being here. Peace.